Raj, I want to talk to you about the experience as far as House of X is concerned, which really is trying to play on this deluge that we've seen in the creator economy. And while the story there is really about authenticity, what is the dilemma and the challenge of being able to create brands? Because we're starting to now see that story also unravel where, today's internet heroes are tomorrow's fallen angels. So how do you really go about creating these internet hero brands that stand for something?
All right. So I want to break down brand building in three different parts, right? It's not just the internet hero who can come up and just back on the community, they can build large brands. I really believe that brand building is functional capability, emotional capability, and then the community capability. So the idea is, can you functionally differentiate your product in a brand? That's the first thing. Then can you attach an emotion which is so relevant for the customers that they really feel attached to the things that they're doing? And then you attach a love of a community or an internet hero who is or backing that thing up. So it takes all three pieces of puzzle to actually build a brand. It doesn't stand with one. Whereas if you think about the fallen superstars or the superheroes, they were only focusing on just the community angle. They were not focusing on functional differentiation or the emotional differentiation. So if you can actually capture all these three things together, I think you can build a really good brand. And that's what we have seen in the West or even in the Eastern countries now that's happening.
And the one insight that, that I found interesting from what you've previously said is to the influencer community is don't chase the B2C brands, but chase the B2B brands, which is counterintuitive because everybody seems to be doing the opposite.
Yeah, that's more for the point of view of brand deals, not from building a brand perspective. Like these are two completely different things. From it as an influencer, as you have more chances to bring light to some of the brands who are not getting so much light versus the brands who are already very customer focused and very onto the customer's face on day-to-day lives. So that's why that idea was very different than the way you're going to build your brand. So I think these are two different conversations altogether.
No, they are completely different conversations. Of course, I was just talking about the fact that we see this whole creator-influencer community headed in one direction, which is the B2C direction. But your insight is really to try and focus on the B2B side of things as well. Nikhil, let me address this issue with you now. In your experience as an investor today, and you've invested in a whole bunch of listed as well as unlisted companies and large listed companies as well, what's the difference when you look at a listed entity where you're putting your money versus an unlisted startup that you're putting your money in? How do you measure these entities differently, if at all you do?
The liquid element of listed is very valuable. So Shireen, for a long time, I felt listed is cheaper, provides more value to unlisted. But at scale today, I think there is an arbitrage at play because of funding having reduced. Let me not use the word dried up. I think there are many discounts available on the private space when it comes at scale, not in the angel ticket sizes. This is like generic advice which is going out to every angel investor and trying to be angel investor out there. The risk reward ratio is totally not in your favor. And I think people should be really cautious when they do small check investment into a whole bunch of different companies to track it, to maintain a track record of everything you've done and how these companies are performing is fairly difficult. But that value I found in public a few years ago, I think at scale, there are deep discounts available in the private space, at least in the last 2 or 3 months. But the liquid nature of it and the ability to borrow so easily against it makes public equity a bit more valuable in my lens over the long run. And I think the taxation is a huge arbitrage. The fact that long-term capital gains on public equity is still 10%, that one parameter changes everything.
Yeah, and that parity has been on the long list of demands for a while now. Let me end by asking, and Ananth, I'll start by asking you that, you're inviting applications for the WTF contest that you've got going on till about the 16th of October. What are you hoping for? I mean, what is going to spark interest across the board for the three of you?
For me, I think it's the individual and the entrepreneur. So I'm actually quite excited to meet young people. I feel like every time you meet somebody young, you learn something. And so I'm very excited to actually, I don't think of it as an investment.
What qualifies as young, by the way, now? What qualifies as young now?
Nikhil and Raj qualify as the two young people, Shireen, in this. Between.
For the fun, for the fun. Yeah, except you're now going after under 22-year-olds. That's a whole different ballgame as far as young is concerned.
Yeah, the young keep shifting. It's like fashion.
It is like fashion, and fast fashion at that. So Raj, what is young for you today?
Wow, that's a question. But I'll tell you what I am really excited about from this fund specifically is I'm excited about looking out for new kind of business opportunities that people come up with. I'll tell you, I met a 17-year-old recently. He was doing business in eye-colored lenses. That was like just for the fashion. It was not numbered lenses. It was just different kind of colors, and he was doing like 1 crore a month. So to me, these kind of different businesses, which I've never heard of, that excites me. And I think young people are the ones in middle of the action, in middle of college or middle of school. They are able to identify these things, which probably I am not able to find out. And I would like to end this by saying that even I feel I'm also young. So let's just put it that way.
You certainly are. You certainly are. Nikhil, I'll end with you. Colored contact lenses. I mean, I've still seen that, heard of that as an opportunity that people have been experimenting with for a while. What is the most sort of, out of whack idea that's come to you in the recent past?
There are many that come, Shireen. I think the qualifying mechanism to take something seriously is if they have some traction already. But Shireen, let me say this, like before I lose my opportunity to do so.
We'll check in with you, and we look forward to discovering some fresh young talent at the end of this contest that Nikhil, Raj, and Ananth have in play. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Young Turks. From all of us here on the team, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Stay tuned. The news continues.